welcome to New Earth Lifestyles. I'm Janie King, your host of the show. Thank you for joining us today. The first day of spring in Manchester, New Hampshire, and we had a snowstorm last night. Typical New Hampshire weather. So thank you for joining us. And this is a show about the shifting consciousness and giving you, the viewer, an opportunity to see things in our experience, our guests, or experience me, and seeing things that perhaps you don't see in your daily life or on standard television shows. So I'm glad that you're here. We talk about yoga or singing bowls or energy medicine or consciousness or many different things, and I hope you enjoy the show today. Today we have Lucia Read, who is a psychic medium from Charlestown, New Hampshire, and she'll be with us. She has also attended the Arthur Findlay College in London, England. So I can't wait to talk with Lucia, and we'll be talking today mostly about divine inspiration. So on that note, I also want to say thank you to Gwen, who emailed me last week between shows to talk about things that I had discussed on the show last week. And anyone, you're welcome to call in today. It's a live show. Call in, and the number is 413-0223, and with area code 603. So it's a live show today on Thursday, March 20th, the first day of spring. And let's have a gong on that. Take a breath. Because this is about breathing and about changing our way of being and changing or just observing. Do you want to change? Do you want to change who you are or how you're living your life? To bring things into your life like breathing or singing bowls, and how that might affect your life in a new way to help you be happy and healthy. So, and welcome, Lucia Read. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me here, Janie. I appreciate being here. It's a pleasure to be on New Earth Lifestyles. I love your intention for this program.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I want to be part of it.
I'm glad that you're here. I've known you for some time, and I really,
yes.
I enjoyed being on your show.
Oh, thank you.
You had a show, and you still have it online. I guess you can watch the old episodes of the Third Eye show, and I really enjoyed being on that show. And that was sort of one of the things that maybe was the starting point for me doing this show.
Oh,
perhaps.
Wonderful. Oh, I love that. That's inspiration, right?
Absolutely.
That's perfect.
You were one of my divine inspirations.
That's perfect. Actually, we're still making Third Eye shows, just not on a regular basis. My husband Mike and I are making specials when we're inspired to do so, and we're putting them out locally and then putting them out on YouTube.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so every now and then there's a new one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought
it's just all inspiration.
All through your inspiration.
Yeah.
So, what is divine inspiration is the question.
That's a good question, and I think it's a good thing to sort of set the context. We're going to be talking today, obviously, about inspiration, about things that inspire us, maybe things that inspire you, hopefully. But what is inspiration? Well, you know, I'm a big fan of science. I love science. I read science. I read science for a living. That's my day job. So I'm a big fan of science. That said, and I have faith in science. I know that science will catch up. It always does. But sometimes they don't quite get it as quickly as the mystics and seers and people who are really spiritually focused get things. So they're talking about dark matter. Science is saying that the universe is composed of 95%, we don't know what. We're just going to call it dark matter because we don't know what it is. But I think that we do know what it is. And I don't think it's dark. I think we know that it's actually consciousness. It's divine consciousness that is 100% of the universe and of every universe. It's all consciousness.
But they can't measure that?
They can't measure it. They can't put it under a microscope. They can't give it, feed it to a mouse. So they don't know what to do with it. So they just say, I don't know what it is. We'll call it dark matter. And I think they will figure it out. I really do. I mean, and I'm being facetious, but I really do have a lot of faith in science, and I really do love science. But this dark matter they talk about, I think, is actually light and consciousness. It's divine consciousness. So when I'm talking about divine inspiration, I'm talking about this beautiful conversation that the universe is having with itself. the conversation we are having, that we are part of, that it's within us and without us, that is everywhere, and that we are deriving from each other, and that we are giving to each other, and that we are singing to each other, and that's what this dark matter actually is. I think it's all inspiration.
Wow, that feels really good. I love it when you say we were singing to each other. And so this is an energetic play,
Yes.
sort of with energy, with consciousness. So there's a play here that is happening all the time.
Yes.
Every second of our lives, we're doing this with either with who we are with, or with what we're with whatever, wherever we are.
Absolutely. And I think it's all spirit communication. It's 100% about spirit communication, because we are all spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is spirit. So all the communication that's happening, all the inspiration that we're getting, all of the songs that we sing to each other, and the stories we tell each other, and the hugs we give each other, it's all spirit communication, and it's all about inspiration. It's really about where we place our attention.
So inspiration, some people might think of that as inspiring, breathing in God, or breathing in spirit, whatever that means. Is that sort of where you're at with that, or is there a broader sense that you have?
Well, sort of, but my brain is kind of cosmic, and so it sort of is. So, I'm thinking that there is no breathing in spirit, because we are spirit. We don't have to breathe it in. There is no separation. We don't need to take in anything. We are it.
I like that.
We are it,
We
baby.
are
We
it.
are it.
We're it, baby.
We are it, baby. And so it's really just a matter of where are we placing our attention.
And so how would you place your attention on inspiration?
I would place my attention on the things that excite me and interest me. I'll give you an example, like science. I was saying that I'm a fan of science. I actually am. And last April, the Kepler mission, the NASA Kepler mission, discovered these two planets, these twin planets, which I've been thinking about now since April. They are Earth-type planets. They said that one is like Hawaii and one is like Alaska, the climates. So I'm thinking of them as H and A, Hawaii and Alaska.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if they orbit each other, but they are twin planets orbiting a sun in the Goldilocks zone, which means that they're not too far from the sun that their water has turned to ice, and they're not too close to the sun that their water has vaporized, like Mercury. So they're in that Goldilocks zone where they have
A Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's
Why
a
do they call
scientific term.
It is?
But yeah, because it's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's just perfect for life as we know it.
For Goldilocks.
Exactly. So that's what the Kepler mission is looking for, is planets in this Goldilocks zone, where the atmosphere and the water are suitable for life as we know
So
it.
is that in the Milky Way somewhere?
Somewhere, yes.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know, 70 trillion miles away or something. It's really far away. But
Only 70 trillion.
but that's really just a concept. It's not really far away.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I've been thinking about them and sort of living with them and inhabiting them and walking around on them and playing with them for a year now, since April.
Wow.
Since they
Yeah.
first came out with this, since I found out about them. So that's inspiration. So that's an example of inspiration. Where do you place your attention? I'm interested in science, so I can find inspiration there. You might find inspiration in kitty cats or in pieces of paper or in singing bowls or anywhere. It's everywhere. It's everything.
And so inspiration is a place where you take your attention to that makes you feel good.
Yes.
So you feel good. You felt good when you learned about these two twin planets, and so you are spending your time thinking about them and actually somehow traveling to them.
And writing about them. So
And
I'm
writing.
writing my second novel which is
Oh.
not centered on them, but definitely takes place at least partly on these planets, which of course I have embroidered and I've been having a lot of fun with, and I've been playing with them.
Great.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
So I think
So you're using science as an inspiration, as a
Yes.
way of daily life,
Yes.
and now it's inspired you to write a novel,
Yes.
to be part of your creative process.
Exactly. So I think we can find inspiration anywhere a lot of people would not be at all interested in the Kepler mission or NASA or any of that or what's going out there, and that's fine. They're interested in something else. So whatever interests you, place your attention on it and turn your brain off, and then just let it speak to you and start playing with it.
Turn your brain off.
Yeah.
Well, there's a different concept. How do you do that?
By using your imagination,
By using your imagination.
by being a child.
being a child, but you're an adult. Are you sure you can be a child? Because you're an adult now. You're supposed to not be adult. You're supposed to be, mature and not have fun.
Sure. Yeah, I'm definitely sure. I'm definitely sure.
Wow,
that's the best fun, don't you think?
Be a child.
Don't
yes,
you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm just thinking, I'm finally coming into this place like you. Of learning that I'm here to have fun.
Yeah.
And so being a child and maybe doing things that I couldn't do as a child are things that make me happy.
Einstein said that when they asked him, wow, how did you reach this epiphany? You're the smartest guy on the planet, which, okay, maybe he was, but he said he thought like a child. In other words, he allowed himself the freedom. If you think about what Einstein did in 1905, he's in a cold water walk-up in Bern, Switzerland, right?
What's that mean, a cold water walk-up?
It means that there's no elevator. Of course, there probably weren't in 1905. I don't even know.
Oh, his apartment or his house?
Yeah, he's in a humble apartment. Doesn't even have, running water, whatever.
I see, okay.
And he doesn't have
I thought you meant he was a walk-in.
No.
When you just say walk-up, I went to walk-in.
Oh, walk-in. He might have been a walk-in. I don't know. But he's in this humble apartment. He has no laboratory. He has no staff. He has no grant. He has nothing. He has nothing. He's sitting in this apartment, he's kind of looking out the window and he's thinking, and guess what? He comes up with relativity. How did he do it? And we think, wow, this is the smartest guy on the planet. He says he did it by thinking like a child, by allowing himself the freedom to just let his mind wander and say, now what if a train was going this way and we could hear it this way and this happened that way? And he came up with thought experiments, some of which they still can't replicate, but some of which they couldn't replicate for decades. And then they finally proved it, and science said, hey, guess what, you're right. Well, he knew he was right.
He knew he was right, and so he became a child, and that's the divine inspiration.
And that's it.
That he was allowing himself to be a child. Wow, that's a great example.
Yeah, I think so.
The man of the century
mm-hmm.
thought like a child.
And he said that we should too.
He said we should too. And we should. I believe that.
Absolutely. I do too. Absolutely.
Think like a child, because
it's fun.
It's fun.
And it makes us happy, and it frees our mind, and it frees our spirits to create.
Mm-hmm.
To create and enjoy. And I think that's what we're here to do, is to have experiences. I hear a lot of people talking about, we're here to grow and this and that and learn. And sure, grow and learn, absolutely. But I think we're really here to have experiences, period. To just have experiences, to create something.
Now that's a concept. To just be creative, be the creator that we are, that we came here to do. Because that's what we are, creative beings. We're all beings of God,
right?
Or of Creator.
Yes.
And we're here to create.
Yes.
And we have to have that young mind, or that creative process of a child that's not cluttered up with all the maturity stuff.
Must do and should do.
Must and shoulds.
And all of the rules and all of the things that hem us in and stop us.
Mm-hmm. Let's go on to that. Phew. Be like a child.
Yeah.
That's been my motto on this show. Have fun. Be like a child.
Yeah.
Look at your life from a different perspective.
And see what you can create.
See what you can create.
See what comes to you, what inspires you, what feels like fun, what feels good.
Because we're all different, and that's mm-hmm. where the unique thing that we're here to do will come from, isn't it?
It's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's the beauty of it. The differences, so-called differences among us are our strengths. It's the beauty of everything. Is that we were talking about this before, about the windshield wipers.
Right. Tell me that story again.
Oh, my husband told me the story this morning. I'd never heard this. That Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones said that he was watching windshield wipers, in rainy England, and he heard the beat to Satisfaction, the song Satisfaction. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about him. I probably wouldn't hear a song if I did, because I'm not musically inclined. Right. I might get a story, or someone who's an artist might get a visual image. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about Edward Hopper. He would just drive down the street and look into a diner and say, hey, that moment is pretty cool, and make a famous painting out of it. Keith Richards would see something very ordinary like a diner, like the windshield wipers, and make a song out of it.
So it depends on whatever you're tuned to.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's probably literally true.
Literally.
It's really about our vibration.
Our vibration.
Don't you think?
I think so. Because we're all unique vibrations.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't get no satisfaction.
Yes, we can.
We do get satisfaction.
We do.
Especially if we have fun and be a child and let our child come through and create.
Yeah. And not put a cap on it. Just let your mind go where it will.
Mm-hmm.
Like Einstein said. That's how he achieved these great leaps. Just by letting his mind wander. Isn't that wonderful?
It is wonderful. And it's like he just lived his life having fun.
Yes. Like Walt Whitman, my favorite poet. I brought a short poem. May I read it?
Oh, sure.
I brought a short poem.
Tell us a little about Walt Whitman first.
I love Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman was an experiencer. Walt Whitman was a poet. He lived, I wrote this down, he lived from 1819 to 1892.
Oh.
So he was around in the Civil War, and he served in the Civil War, but as a medic. He wouldn't fight.
Mm-hmm.
He served as a medic to heal. He was a healer.
I say, I didn't know that.
Wonderful poet, fabulous poet. He wrote a book of poetry called Leaves of Grass,
Mm-hmm.
which was considered obscene at the time it was published, right after the Civil War. A lot of publishers wouldn't touch it because he was an experiencer. Let me put it that way. And he wrote about the things that he experienced. But this is his take on. He wrote this is a short poem. It's called "When I Heard the Learned Astronomer," and it's about. Well, I'll read it to you.
Right in line with the planets that you're playing with.
Well, yeah, I love the planets. So this is the one that really speaks to me. One of his many that really speak to me.
Okay.
And it's just a couple of lines. He says, "When I heard the learned astronomer, when the proofs, the figures were ranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I, sitting, heard the astronomer where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, soon, unaccountably, I became tired and sick, till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical, moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars." Isn't that beautiful?
That is beautiful.
I looked up in perfect silence at the stars.
Perfect silence. I can feel that. I do love doing that, looking up at in perfect silence at the stars.
Yeah, me too.
Living in New Hampshire, at least in the rural parts of New Hampshire, really can enjoy that.
We can see the Milky Way. It goes right over our house on those really clear summer nights. You can see the Milky Way. It's wonderful. So he was an experiencer, and he didn't want to hear about it. He didn't want to hear the facts and figures ranged in columns.
Mm-hmm.
It made him sick. He had to get out.
So the whole poem is about him sitting with the things arranged in columns and listening to the astronomer when the best way to do it is to experience it.
For him.
For him, yeah.
For him. For the astronomer might have been finding worlds of wonder in those columns of figures.
Right.
So it's not. I don't think it was about him judging that this is better than that. It's just that this is how he needed to experience it. He was an experiencer. I just love him. So I find him very endlessly inspiring. Because he was inspired by everything. He wrote a poem called Miracles, and he was like, I could hear him laughing when he wrote this because he said, miracles? Who makes much of miracles? Everything's a miracle. And then he just listed his whole, he wrote some very long poems, this whole long list about this miracle, that's a miracle, everything's a miracle.
Really, true.
And then in the end he says, what greater miracles are there than, all the things that he listed, which are the fish and the ocean and everything.
And when you think about it, how the way the body is put together, the human body, the fish body, any living body, or the trees, everything, how did all these things come together to work?
Through this divine conversation, this divine song that we're having.
The divine song.
This wonderful
the
symphony.
Divine vibration, yes. The symphony of existence, of consciousness. Consciousness.
I think so, yeah. I think that's about it.
Wow.
It's just beautiful, and we inspire each other. We're all inspiring each other. Like I just mentioned two people who inspire me very much, Einstein and Whitman, who were very different in their lives and in their outlooks, but similar in that freedom they gave themselves.
Freedom, yeah. And that's what we don't do lots of times in being in this societal, in the world, the Western world that we're in. We're taught through television or through our upbringing to conform and to go, to be, this is how you're supposed to be, this is the way you're supposed to look, you're supposed to wear these fashions, you're supposed to say these things or be this way or have these things. And that really does take away our freedom when we lock ourselves into this, this herd that's going through the chute kind of thing of thinking we need to be like everyone else and do what everyone else is doing. And that creates the consumerism of the world. And I know that I lived most of my life that way, being herded and worrying about what other people think and how they look at me and how I needed to conform with things. And thank goodness that my life has shifted and I'm opening up to all this.
You got over it.
I got over it. I got over the way it was supposed to be. There's no supposed tos.
That's right.
Yeah.
And actually, by limiting ourselves like that, what are we doing? We're choking off the diversity that inspires us. That I think that we're meant to experience.
Right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. When I look at my upbringing, I grew up in a southeastern Massachusetts. It was a very rural community, and everyone in my school was pretty much white Anglo-Saxon or white Christian, and I didn't have any diversity of color or ethnicity or anything. And so when I moved out of that, I was terrified of. I have to say, I was afraid of people that weren't like me because I was brought up that way. My parents were in that mind frame. So it's taken me a long time to break out of that and to really cherish diversity and look for the difference in people and enjoy that diversity, enjoy everything being different, and that we don't have to conform. Because
that's a beautiful story. I mean, that really is a beautiful journey that you took.
It is. I'm still on it.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to that. It's everyone's journey. We're all on our own life's journey.
Yeah.
I feel like we all have a story to tell about where we've been and where we are. I mean, and I was born in 1950, so that really dates to where I am today. And it's taken the first 40 years of my life, or 42 years of my life, I was very cloistered, and actually it's health issues that gave me the opportunity. It was painful things that I had to go through that helped me to look outside of the box, look outside of what I was conforming to. And because I was never sick. I never had been to the hospital or had any medical problems. And then when I started having medical problems, I didn't want to be dependent on drugs. And that was what the doctor said. Well, these are safe. You can take these the rest of your life. Well, how come I have these hives I never had before? Or how come I'm whatever? I forget all the other things that were happening to me. But that was one of the things that started off my shift was some physical stuff that came up that I needed to be on drugs for, and I've always been healthy, and I was a natural person, and I decided I was not going to be on drugs.
So you found inspiration in that challenge?
I guess I did.
You did?
Yes, I did. And
it's wonderful.
So I'm not on drugs now, and I'm probably one of the few people on the earth that is not dependent on something pharmaceutical, but I really strive not to. I strive to find other means to take care of things that come up in my body or in my health. Because
that's
the
wonderful.
earth, the earth gives us everything we need,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I've come to learn. So, Lucia, you are also a psychic.
Mm-hmm. I am. I'm a psychic medium.
Psychic medium.
Yes. Yes.
And you have your own website.
Oh, I do. It's just my name. So if you're interested, it's LuciaRead. www.luciaread.com. That's my website.
Mm-hmm.
But I get tremendous inspiration from mediumship and from the psychic work.
How do you do that? How does that come to you? What is inspiring about that?
There's so much about it that's inspiring, Jane. Spirit communication, and of course everything, this is spirit communication. Everything is. But I'm talking specifically about communicating with people who are on the higher side of life, people who've passed over, who've died. Communicating with them is inspiring in a special way, in so many special ways for me, because I don't want to say they're us, because we attain a broader view once we're freed from this dense earth plane. And so when people come through mediumship, they're bringing to that conversation, as limited as the conversation is, because it's coming through a person, through me, or through another medium, and by its very nature has to be limited. But they bring through this broader perspective that to me is so inspiring. They see what they didn't see when they were here. They will say to their loved ones, retire. Don't do what I did. Don't deny yourself the way I did. It's time for you to retire. It's time for you to enjoy yourself. Don't deny yourself. They will talk from that broader perspective, from that higher perspective, where they've got a broader view and they can really see the whole picture, to bring through messages of encouragement, inspiration. Sometimes they ask for forgiveness, which I find also deeply inspiring and deeply moving. They bring through love to us. What they bring is so inspiring in so many ways, because they have a broader perspective and because they're coming to us with love. It's hard for them to communicate with us. It's hard to communicate through a medium, because they've got to lower their vibration. The medium raises his or her vibration, and there's a blending.
I see.
There's a place where we blend, and the more we practice it, and there are techniques to help with that, the better we get at it. But still, I think it's harder for them than it is for us on this side to have that kind of conversation. So they're coming in with an intention. They don't just drop in to say, hi, how you doing, and breeze out. They're coming in with an intention when they come through a medium to a sitter. And that intention is always something that I think is worth paying particular attention to, because that intention is always one of inspiration, encouragement, support, sometimes regret. But it's an important message when it comes through, even if they're just saying, I didn't die. I'm still alive. That's an important message. So I find them endlessly inspiring. It's so inspiring. And I have to say that the feeling that I get raising my vibration to the point where I can perceive them, that alone is so inspiring, because it leaves me sort of with a, if I can say this, sort of like a contact high. I mean, just being in the presence of higher energies is very inspiring. It's very inspiring.
A natural high.
It is. It's a natural high. So mediumship for me is incredibly inspiring, an incredibly beautiful pursuit. It's a wonderful thing to do. And I see that the effect it has on people is so positive. It brings people comfort and encouragement. I love it.
Great.
I love
and what is the
mediumship.
difference between the mediumship and psychic abilities? Is there a difference?
There is a
What
difference.
is your definition of that?
There is a difference, although a lot of people would disagree with what I'm going to say. Okay? There's sort of a party line that says that psychic ability, if I'm practicing if I'm giving you a psychic reading, I'm going to be focusing on your energy. I'm going to be focusing on your aura, your energy, and we're going to talk about things that are going on in your life, your home, your job, relationships, that sort of thing, finances, whatever. If I'm giving you a mediumistic reading, I am going to purposely remove my attention from you and place it behind me. I call in my spirit guides to come in and help to bring through someone from the spirit world who's connected to you, who would be meaningful to you. And so it's really where I'm placing my attention. Am I placing it on you? Am I reading you? Or am I bringing through a spirit, which is a higher energy?
Thank you.
So that's the difference. And people say that because this is focusing on a person and this is mediumship is focusing on a spirit, this is higher than that. Well, I don't believe that, because we're all spirit. So it's to me, it's all spirit communication.
Right. So it's all spirit communication, but it's just a matter of where how the information comes to you.
Yeah, where you're placing your attention.
Right. I believe we just had a call come through.
Wonderful.
Donna. Okay, let me pick it up. Hello, Donna.
Hi, Donna.
Hello, Donna.
Hi.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
Donna.
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Yes. How are you?
Fine.
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Fine. The lady that's with you, I'd like to know what she can pick up off of me.
Oh.
Can you do a reading on the air?
I suppose I
Is
could try. That's
It's different?
yeah.
Have you
it's
ever
not
done
really
that before?
Yeah, I have done. I've done it on
Okay.
the radio.
Okay.
Let's see, Donna. I tell you, I can feel children around you.
She can feel children around you. Can't you hear her, or shall I?
I
can hear her.
Okay.
Do you have a question you would like to ask Donna because I'll tell you what, my readings go on for half an hour or an hour. I don't do like really quickie readings, but if you have a question, maybe I could focus on it for you. Is there something specific on your mind?
Yes, there is. I have a son that passed away.
Your children. That's it. Okay. You can stop right there. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think I can practice mediumship on a television show like this just instantly.
Okay.
I don't think that's
Okay, so
appropriate.
she's not feeling it's appropriate right now, Donna, for this type of a reading on the air, if that's okay.
But I'll tell you what, Donna, if you would like to go to my website, I would be happy to read for you at no charge, okay, in private.
Uh-huh.
Is that okay? There'd be no charge. Just remind me that I said that, because I won't know who you are when you write to me. But if you just remind me, all right, go to my website, send me a note. I will be happy to read for you, okay?
Okay.
And that's luciaread.com.
Yes, READ, LUCIAREAD. I'll be happy to read for you at no charge, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome,
Thanks, Donna.
Yeah, I don't want to try to practice mediumship in like 2 seconds on television.
Yeah, it's kind of hard in this environment, yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of an artificial environment.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for your call, Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
Get in touch with Lucia.
Yeah, I'll be
air
happy to read for you.
Yeah, that would be better.
Yeah.
So.
So I think that we inspire each other. Mm-hmm. We're inspiring each other, and people derive inspiration from anything. I was thinking about, who inspires me. I was thinking about Mother Teresa is an extremely inspirational person.
Yes.
She said, if we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to each other.
I love that. I think I've heard that before.
Isn't that beautiful?
Can you repeat that again?
If we have no peace, it's because we've forgotten that we belong to each other. That's so beautiful.
We've forgotten that we belong to each other.
We belong to each other. It's that simple. So if somebody needs help, just help them. That's it. And she said, I remember her talking about, for her, Christ was her guru, was the spirit she admired the most. Mm-hmm. And she said that she saw Christ in the face of every person she encountered, whoever it was. And so she just put her attention on that. That was her intention,
Seeing
and that
Christ
was her
in everyone.
attention. Yes, to see Christ everywhere and in everyone.
Wow. That feels very doable, if you believe that, to put your guru in everyone that you see. Because for me, I really aspire to living a prayer, living my life as a prayer, and that would be a prayer.
Yes.
To live life as. Because it's very difficult. You're in this ego all the time, or being pulled from one place to the other.
I know, and you hear about things that happen. Did you hear what happened to this one? Did you hear what this one did to that one? Did you hear what she said about this one? And I mean, we all live in this world. We live in this so-called real world. But it's really a world of our creation. We don't have to participate in that, and we don't have to place our attention there. We can remove our attention from that.
Yes.
As Whitman did when he was hearing something that wasn't pleasing to him. He simply removed his attention and placed it on something that inspired him. And I think that's a perfect example of what we can all do when we find that we are not being inspired, or and it can be by something that's boring or by something we don't want to participate in. Just remove your attention and put it someplace that you'd rather be.
Yeah.
For me, I'll go out to the Kepler planets, Hawaii and Alaska.
And play.
And
be inspired.
Yeah, so to my friends, if you're having a conversation and you see that I've suddenly stopped participating in the conversation, I'm just being quiet, that's where I am.
You're being inspired.
I'm out in space.
Out in space. Yes. We do have another caller, if you want to take this one.
Sure.
Hello, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, what's your name, please?
Joseph Petrarchi.
Hi, Joe. What would you like to say today?
I wanted to talk to the lady in the green about spiritual stuff.
Sure. Hi, Joseph.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you? Good.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
We're all good. How
What's
can we
on,
help you?
What's on your mind, Joseph?
Yeah. Well, I would just like to say I had a spiritual encounter once.
You want to tell us about it quickly, briefly?
Yeah,
He's watching the delay.
good. My spiritual encounter was when I was just wondering if I could talk to you about a spiritual encounter that I had once.
The TV. You can't do that. You can't watch the TV.
You can't watch the TV at the same time that you're speaking with us Joseph, because there's a delay, and I think you're getting a little confused
I'm
with the
sorry.
delay. No,
Yeah, okay.
So why don't you
Turn-
tell us if you can turn your TV down, and then let us know what your spiritual encounter was, if you can tell us that briefly.
Yeah, it was just about, I asked God for help, and he came to me in a certain way.
It's wonderful.
Lovely.
So I just wanted to know, can she pick up on readings like this if there's other spiritual things that could happen to me?
I think people are asking for readings, and I understand that, but this really isn't the forum for readings.
Yeah, I guess you can't really give readings on the air right now, Joseph.
Some people do, but I'm not comfortable doing that.
Okay.
Okay, so I know that some people do. They do it on the radio, they do it on television. I have done it on the radio, but I'm really not comfortable trying to do real quick little readings.
Okay. Well, so thank you, Joseph, for calling in.
Okay.
But thank you for sharing that,
Okay.
Joseph.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
So yeah, I think that a lot of people have spirit encounters. Joseph described one that he had. I think a lot of us have encounters with spirits. Sometimes we consider them ghosts and we decide that we're afraid.
Right. True.
We don't have to be afraid.
That's right. We don't have to be afraid, and
No.
you get some calls on that type of thing, don't you?
Most definitely, absolutely. I certainly do, and I try to help. I'll tell you the first thing that I do when somebody calls me up and says things are flying around or the place feels weird and there's stuff happening in my house or my place of business. The first thing I'll do is a reading on the place to get a feeling for, is it appropriate? And I put the question out there: is it appropriate for me to intervene? Because
When you do put that out there, you're asking the property and the building?
no, I'm asking the universe.
The universe.
I'm asking for guidance.
Okay.
Yeah, because often it is not appropriate to intervene. There's something going on there. There's a karmic situation, or there's something it's none of my business. I'm not supposed to be involved in. And so I will say, I'm sorry, but I'm not supposed to be involved here. Just as I said to the callers, I don't feel it's appropriate for me to try to do like 5-minute readings. That's not something that I like to do. However, if I do a reading and I get the sense that, yes, it is appropriate for me to try to come and help, then I will. I'll go out and help. And 9 times out of 10, there's probably no spirit there. There are other things that people mistake for spirit communication or for hauntings. For example, if there's been an illness, if there's been strife or discord in a space, that creates what I think of as cobwebs, sort of invisible cobwebs that start to build up, and people will walk in and say, oh, this place feels creepy. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel good. It creeps me out. And they don't realize that they're responding to sort of leftover residual energies from another time, from discord or disharmony. They feel creeped out. That adds to these spiritual cobwebs, and over time it just gets worse and worse. So often that's what's going on. There are no spirits there at all. It's just that kind of a thing.
And would
that's
you
easy to
clean
get.
that?
That's easily done with a clearing, with
Yeah.
a blessing and a cleansing. You can easily get rid of that. If there is a spirit, that's a different question. And sometimes there are people who are trapped and need help. Sometimes there are people working through their karmas, and it's not for me to intervene. It's of
Working through their
choice.
karma means, what does that mean?
Oh, right. It means they have their own issues that they're working through.
On the spirit world.
On the spirit level, they may need. Well, for example, I know of one spirit in Merrimack in a public place who is guilty. He feels very guilty, and he took his own life. His spirit is still in that space, and he is not going to move on until he forgives himself. It's that simple. When he forgives himself, he'll be ready to take the next step and move on to the next level of his existence, his next experience. But for now, he's keeping himself in place by refusing to forgive himself.
I see. And how did you experience that, if you don't mind my asking?
Oh, well, I'll give you the elevator version because I know this is only an hour
Yeah, we've
show.
got about 20 minutes left. Or
Okay.
15 minutes. 15
Well,
minutes
this place came to Mike and my attention when we were doing the Third Eye show. And we said, well, it would be interesting to go and check this place out and see if there's maybe a haunting, if we can help. Let's see if we can help.
left.
So it actually is a restaurant. So we went to the restaurant and to have breakfast, just to have breakfast and kind of feel the place out, kind of feel the vibe of the place. This is it's a series of buildings that have been put together into a modern restaurant. The nucleus of the place is sort of over here, and then you walk through corridors and different rooms and whatever to get to over there where we were. So we had to walk Sunday morning. We had to take our plates and walk down the hall to this little room to get our breakfast. And as we're walking down the hall, the air's getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And I'm looking at Mike saying, do you feel that? There's definitely something going on here. By the time we got to the room where they were making the waffles and slicing the ham, the air pressure was so heavy I could hardly breathe in there. And I could definitely feel someone who was very agitated, a spirit who was very agitated, very upset, who was walking around and around and around, who was pacing. So I get up to the guy who's slicing the ham, and he asks me, would you like a slice of ham? And I said, not for nothing, but are you aware of the fact that there's a spirit here? There's somebody like pacing, and he's really upset, and he's right here. And he said, oh, yeah, he hanged himself from that beam right there. That's what he said. He hanged himself from that beam right there. So would you like a piece of ham? Slice of ham? It was a surreal moment. Honestly, it really was. I said, yeah, sure. Okay. So seriously, we said, we've got to see if we can help this fellow. Because he's obviously very upset. There's somebody there who's really upset. So we went back when the place was closed. We asked for permission, which we were given, and we went there when the restaurant was closed, and spread this beautiful violet flame in the space. This is the light of Saint Germain. We brought this really high, beautiful light. We went with a couple of friends, some of whom you know, and spread this light into the space to try to bring him some clarity, so that whatever was troubling him, he could perhaps work through and could move on. And he was communicating with me clearly during that, and said that he needs to be there. He said, I can't forgive myself. It was very clear. This man cannot forgive himself.
And how did that come to you, if you don't mind my asking? I mean,
it's a knowing. It's telepathy. It's a knowing. It's the same way. That's a good question, because people have asked me, can you bring my parents through, because they were Eastern European, they were Polish, and they didn't speak English. Well, they're not speaking a language to me, so it doesn't matter. They're speaking through telepathy. I mean, the communication with the medium is through telepathy. It's not through language.
And what can you explain telepathy?
It's a knowing. It's what they call clairvoyance,
Okay.
clairsentience. Clairsentience is clear knowing.
Clear knowing, right?
So it's just knowing what he's feeling. I knew.
So there's just a knowing within your being.
Yes.
Of understanding what he's saying.
I could feel his guilt.
Oh.
I could feel his guilt. I could feel that this gentleman is very upset and very guilty. I actually also saw his mother. I saw his mother there with my eyes, and so did my friend. We saw her in a window before we entered the building. And I know that she is there to keep an eye on him. I don't think he knows she's there.
Oh. Well, that's another question I had that people have brought up, is that spirits on the other side are at different levels. One level can't see the other level necessarily. Like, well, this person
Exactly.
he isn't totally on the other side yet.
No, he really isn't. He's really in the astral level. He's keeping himself close to the earth because he's not forgiving himself. He's sort of stewing in this sort of lower vibration of judgment, which is a low vibrational emotion.
Right.
And as long as he is stuck in this place of judgment, he's judging himself, but it's still judgment. As long as he's stewing in this judgment, he's not going anywhere.
Right.
So the day that he learns to forgive himself is the day that he can start to elevate his consciousness.
And when you communicated with him, or did you call it communicating with him?
Yes.
And then he did he give you get any feeling for any way that you might be able to help him to get over that judgment or help forgive himself?
I don't think he's aware of any way that he can be helped, but I have been sending him light. Because there's no distance. Distance doesn't matter. I read for people anywhere via Skype. Even read for one woman at Facebook. We were instant messaging, and her father came through. Just anyway, that's parenthetical. There's no space between us. There's nothing separating us. So there's no reason in the world I can't keep sending him light, surrounding him with light. So I keep sending him that violet flame to try to help him gain some clarity so that he can at some point, hopefully, if I can help him just a little bit to forgive himself, it'll be well worth the effort.
Right. And his mother's there to...
His mother is there, definitely.
To help him.
She is.
To be ready for him when he's ready to forgive himself.
Yes.
So that she can help him over.
Yes. Yes, but he doesn't know she's there. I saw her in the window. So I know she's there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an amazing, it is an amazing place. It was an amazing experience and really very sad because he's keeping himself in that place. He doesn't have to be.
Right. So forgiveness is such a huge healer for everyone, for all of us.
It really is.
And that's one of the things that I've brought into my life is to realize that when we don't forgive ourselves, it really hurts us tremendously in deep ways. It doesn't hurt anyone else. It hurts us when we can't forgive another or forgive ourselves especially.
That's so true. I think we keep reliving whatever it is that we're not forgetting, we're not forgiving. I just said it. We're not forgetting it.
Right.
Yeah, we're not forgetting it. We're just reliving it and stewing in it. And I think that's what this gentleman is doing. Hundreds of years later, he's still doing it.
Oh, okay.
So
you could feel the era that he was in when he did this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's been there for a couple hundred years. It's a very old place by American standards.
Now, what would happen if that building just were demolished or something? I mean, what would happen to that spirit?
He would still be there.
He'd stay there?
Oh, yeah. I've come across spirits who are attached to a place, not a building. I can think of a couple in this area right here in New Hampshire, off the top of my head, where there are spirits who are connected not to a building, but to a place. There's one brand new house where this woman has a business out of her home, and she has experienced things, moving around playfully, and I very clearly could feel the presence of a little girl, like a little, maybe 6-year-old girl, and she said, "I knew it was a little girl," because I think she's quite sensitive, and she's just sort of allowing herself to become aware of that she's quite sensitive herself, but she knew it was a little girl. And this little girl, she said, "But how could that be? We built this house. It's a new house. There's no little girl."
Right.
There was never any little girl here. I said, "Well, there was a little girl here. She was just on a different property in a different era,
in a different dimension, different plane, different
a different time. She was there in that space, but in a different time."
Right.
And so she likes all of the things that she sees, and she likes to play with them.
And so this woman became okay with that?
She's okay with it.
Yeah.
She's okay with it, yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's a large part of what I do with what we call, paranormal investigations. First of all, I don't like that term paranormal. I have to put that in quotes because it's all quite normal.
Right.
This is all very normal. But if we're going to call it that, something, let's call it that. Often what I'm doing is talking to the 3D people, the flesh and blood people, and trying to educate them that the spirit or whoever's there is here because this is their home, or because they're comfortable here and there's no threat or worry around this. You needn't be afraid of this.
Yeah, it's nothing to be feared, and that's the big thing for us in the 3D, that think that when things move in your house, or the presence of a spirit is found, that it's not to be feared. They're not here to harm us.
Of course not. Absolutely not. My first thought will go to either my spirit guides or a loved one in my family. And I think now, is it my dad's birthday or that kind of thing,
Right, exactly. Because that's what they do. They'll come and knock on our door somehow, or knock, or do something to let us know that it's time to think about them.
Yeah, and that they have survived, which
yes.
which is something I find so incredibly inspirational.
Yeah,
it really is. That to really get it, to really get it, that we survive, that we do live. Our consciousness lives on. It does not die.
That's the important part. That's so important. I know that so my mother passed away in 2004. My father just passed away last year, and I had gone through a healing process to help the grief of losing my mother. But between that time and when my father passed away, I've grown so much on these planes of understanding energy and consciousness that when he passed away, I was still grieving, but I really feel that it's a different level, and that I've been able to understand he's still here, he's still with me, and he will show signs to me that he's here. And so that the grief process was totally different. In fact, I'm so accepting of the fact that he's passed. He's just in another dimension, and that he's happy. He's out of pain. He's free, and he's with my mother.
Yeah, these are some of the messages that come through mediumship that are so healing to people.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons I love to do it, because those kinds of messages, I'm out of pain, I'm with Mom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still alive, I'm better than ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are things that we need to hear. Because
And it helps us
we
live
don't
our lives
know.
better.
It definitely.
It helps us go through life in a happier way, and an understanding that we're going to be okay when the time comes for us to leave this physical body.
Yeah, that is just a transition. And actually, it's a transition into a higher life and a more vivid life in so many ways.
Mm.
It's a wonderful book called Proof of Heaven. Have you read this book?
Is that by the doctor?
Yes, Ibn Alexander.
I've heard it. I saw him on a YouTube video, and it sounds inspiring.
It's phenomenal. It's so inspiring. I won't give away the ending, but going through this whole experience, now he's a doctor, he's a surgeon, so he's thinking, well, now wait a second, maybe it was
Not
really
only that,
this.
wasn't he a neurosurgeon?
A brain surgeon, yes, he was. Yes, a neurosurgeon. And so when he finally came through this whole medical crisis that he underwent, and his near-death experience and all that, now it's all in the past, and he's thinking about it, and he's got a whole list of things. Well, maybe it was this, and maybe it was that, and what if it was this? And he runs through the gamut of all these different things and eliminates each one in a very rational way, one by one. But he still is left with just this little bit of doubt that could it possibly have been some kind of dream? And then there's the kicker, and that's the end of the book. So it's really a great book.
You're not going to tell us the end of the book.
No, I'm not going to tell you. Where he finds out there's absolutely no way in the world I could have known this, what I experienced on the other side that turned out to be true. There's no way in the world I could have known this, and so it had to have really happened.
Right.
For him, that was his proof of heaven. And I think knowing that this is really true is mind-boggling for us, and it's so inspirational to know that we're not going to die. We're not going to lose anything. We're only going to have a greater consciousness.
So I wonder how we can help people understand that, to dispel their fears. That was my thing with my dad when he was in assisted living or being taken care of. Was I knew he was holding on to, even though he said he wasn't afraid, I knew he was holding on to this fear that it's painful to die, or that it's painful, or there was some kind of a fear that he couldn't. He didn't know he had, perhaps, but I felt like there was a fear there. How can we, knowing these things as more metaphysical people, help others understand that there's nothing to fear, that it's okay, that you're not going to be going away?
That's a great question. I think one thing we can do is call on their loved ones who are already on the other side to come to them. I'll tell you, I was a hospice volunteer for years in New Jersey before we moved up here to New Hampshire. And I can tell you that when people are close to death, they are seeing their loved ones.
True.
And I've lived long enough to know this, to have heard this, and
Yes.
to have seen it myself with people I know who have made their transition. We see loved ones. Before my aunt passed, she was talking to my Nana all the time. She was talking. She said, "Well, she sits right here, and we have conversations." So this is a very common thing. And if your mother is coming to you and is telling you, "It's okay, I'm here for you, don't be afraid," you're going to be less afraid. Or someone you love and trust. So that's what I do when somebody says to me, "My mom is passing and she's afraid. What do?" I say, call on her mom or someone she loves to come and be with her and hold her hand.
That's a great answer. Yes, I think I did work on calling on my mother, but maybe not as much as I could have. And I know he did see her at the end.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. that she
Sure.
was there.
Because that's a very common experience.
And forgiveness was a big thing for him as well. I mean, I know there was a lot of stuff between the 9 years from when my mother passed to him going, and that a lot of guilt and other things that I think he couldn't forgive himself for, even though it's life happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing in grief, and I'm sure in the hospice programs you've probably seen that as well. Is when guilt is one of the healing processes that people go through.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so great, Lucia. I'm so
really
happy
fun.
to have you on the show. It was fun.
Thanks. Thank you.
Divine inspirations and giving us an opportunity to still be kids.
Yeah, I
To
mean
play.
that's Einstein's message, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
allow yourself to let your mind go free.
Let your mind go free. Let us all have fun and relax and remember and be that child that you want to be. Daydream. Daydreaming is okay.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for joining us today, and thank
It's
you
a
for
pleasure.
joining us,
It's a pleasure.
being on the show. I'm glad you're here. And
Thank you.
next week I will have Wendy Burchell. She'll be here from she's from Southwick, Massachusetts, actually. Earth Angel Designs, I believe, is her company, and she works with angels and does angel card readings, I believe. But she's hosting a psychic fair and an event down in Enfield, Connecticut in April, so she'll be here to talk about that and what she does. So until then, I'm glad that you were with us today, and thanks for joining us. And until next time, remember, your heart knows the way.